Hello guys, today I want to talk about situation in around Middle East and why you should be concerned about this kind of things happening around the globe as a technology specialist. So I try to keep this channel focused into the only on the technologies. I don't want to get into much into geopolitics, uh, but doesn't matter what you do, geopolitics and the things that happen around the globe affect us as technology specialists. So today's topic is an interesting one again because past during the past week, Israel, United States, Iran, they have exchanged fire, like they bombed Iran, Iran fired back rockets. And interesting fact that Iran actually has attacked a data center in UAE, United Arab Emirates, to the point that the they had to shut down the data center. So it was AWS data center. So some of you, if you don't know, AWS it's Amazon Web Services. So yes, the Amazon online shop, the marketplace. Actually, they have another service called Amazon Web Services, which actually I think the most profitable part of their business, not the shop. It's actually they provide just server hosting environment, compute services to software developers, many other companies around the globe to run their web application backends and other loads on their AWS servers. So essentially, one of those data centers has been hit with drones. I think yeah, there have been multiple drone attacks across the region, not only on the UAE data centers, but different data centers around the region. I believe there was another attack in Bahrain too. So attack was so damaging they had to shut down the data center because there were some kind of fires and damages, that kind of things going on. So essentially that meant that the entire AWS region, because they call it AWS regions, because they have multiple data centers across the globe, like in the United States, South America, Australia, Oceania, Eurasia, like they have those data centers everywhere. And the reason being that you have to put your app, whenever you are developing an app or running a load, you want to run those applications closer to your customers, so the customers get lower ping time. Because for the context of the web applications, mobile applications, it it makes a lot of difference, like how fast your customers can interact with your apps. It's not only about the bandwidth, the speed of the connection, but also the ping, the latency of the connection. So that's the reason that's why the AWS, they have multiple servers across the region. So with this hit, essentially it meant essentially that the entire AWS region went offline, and so they had to redirect the entire traffic to some other locations, which essentially means that your application runs slowly in a sluggish way. Uh, so the reason I wanted to talk about this is to because from the back 2010, when actually I started back in 2010 my career, the cloud was like the AI now. Like everything you heard was about the cloud, how the cloud is the big thing. And the, don't get me wrong, it's usable, okay? Especially uh, like the scalability, availability with the clouds, it goes beyond anything you could expect from your on-prem servers. Like if you have a data center on premises, cloud actually helps if you need to scale really fast. So that's why a lot of companies actually migrated to cloud. Uh, but now again, the data center got hit. So what happens if the data center is completely destroyed and they don't have the backup and you don't have the backup? Okay, these things seem to you like how this can happen. But again, I mean, how could a data center be hit with a missile or a drone? Okay, we don't even think now that these services can just fail. Okay, uh, essentially there is a saying that there is no cloud, it's always someone else's computer. So we forget this, that these clouds actually physical locations, physical computers that run in physical buildings. Again, they might be distributed across the globe, they might be distributed across multiple buildings, multiple server racks, whatever, but again, they are physical things running on physical computers in physical locations. Okay, so this means essentially these things can get destroyed during the wars, can get destroyed during natural disasters. So I see that multiple technology specialists don't even think about this kind of things anymore. So even worse, like what if your technology is so ingrained to that infrastructure? I'm talking now about the vendor locking. Okay, so like technologies such as AWS Lambda, and there are multiple other technologies that you could be using. So if you are a software architect, if you are a software engineer who have uh, essentially a guy who makes a decision about software architecture, deployment architecture, how fast are you able to run your application on other platform? Like if some disaster happens, some war happens, your data center just got obliterated, like totally destroyed. Okay, I'm not even talking about your provider not wanting to provide the service. These things happened, a natural disaster happened, a war happened, your data center is destroyed, so you need to run your load in other location. Okay, this means essentially that either you have to take your application to some other region of for the same provider, with the same provider. Like if you were running in UAE, you might have to run from Europe, which means essentially that your application will be really slow for your customers. And even worse, like there are some cases that you just cannot take your data and the application from that region. For example, for many countries, the medical apps, medical data, you just can't take this data and ship it some other or to some other server that is located outside of your country or region, because there are legal restrictions. Okay, so this if this kind of things happen, essentially this means that you are out of the business. Okay, if you have some kind of application that you cannot quickly deploy outside of your region, outside of your current provider, your business is doomed. Because if you spend like a year, a couple of years developing an application that is so tightly ingrained, connected to your current provider, and something's were to happen, you just cannot take it anywhere else. Okay, so these are the important things to think about when you develop the software architecture of your applications. How tightly are you connected with your provider? Because again, for the past 15 years, we are taking things for granted. We think that cloud is there and nothing can happen. But more and more in this uncertain world, we're gonna see that this kind of things happen. Uh, and again, the digital infrastructure is becoming really strategic. They are becoming targets for the, especially during the conflicts, because AI increasingly is used by the militaries, and the militaries increasingly use civilian infrastructure to run those loads. So there are some information about America, like United States using Claude for target recognition, reconnaissance designation, I don't know. So in some sense, this kind of during the war, data centers are becoming target, and this is going to continue. Okay, and there are some other cases. For example, I believe several months ago. It was maybe in autumn, I don't remember exactly, but the situation was the following. The United States requested from India that they should stop buying oil from Russia, and India denied that. Said, we are an independent country, we are going to buy from whomever we want to buy from, whatever. And what happened that uh, Indian oil company was running its applications, they were running their applications on the Amazon Azure cloud system, cloud servers. So the American government, Trump gave the orders, and the Azure cloud service, Microsoft, essentially shut down the Indian company's applications. So again, you cannot blame the company because they have to comply with the orders. They are like they work in a country with there are frameworks, there are laws, there are bills they have to comply with. And so again, if you are a software architect, a specialist that designs this kind of things, how fast are you able to run the workload on other cloud provider if if these things were to happen with you? Again, would you be able to take your data backup and use that backup to just plug into the next provider, and within a 48 hours, I don't know, given that there is DNS propagation, whatever, it might take up to 48 hours, whatever, but do you have that capability to just switch the providers? Okay, if natural disasters were to happen, if a war is going on, if some politician decided that you don't use their services anymore, you cannot use access the cloud services in their country, so what you gonna do about this? This is the like the most important question. And also it's important to continually do the disaster recovery drills, like take this scenario within your company with your team, whatever, and just say, today evening there is a war, our provider has gone away, the data center is destroyed, okay? And just try to work it up. How fast are you able to run your application on other providers, even locally, like in a test environment, whatever you do, just doing the drill? Because again, if you are locked and tied with providers, like your entire code is ingrained with the AWS, for it could be any other provider. I'm not saying that in particular, could be any provider, but if you are locked even with your code, like you have developed a code that is vendor locked, okay, so you spend a year developing that and then just gone, okay, and again, you either have a choice to move to other region physically farther away from your customers, or again, with the India's case, you don't have even that option because you are locked out from their entire infrastructure because there is a political order to lock you out, okay? Are you able to use another provider? Are you able to run these loads on premises? How fast it will take for you? Again, whenever you, for the past 15 years, we have taken so many things for granted, like in our ordinary lives. It's not only about technology, like there are many aspects in our lives, but if you are a technology specialist, this is your job, you have to think about these things, okay? Because again, and it's always easier whenever you start designing your software stack, you know, whenever you are designing your architecture, your deployment strategy, what are, just think about these things, because if you are in, again, if you have spent 2 years developing and locking yourself to particular provider, you just have no way out, okay? If the service is gone, you are gone too, okay? And these things can happen. We can see these things happening increasingly more often, and so at least you should, again, we are just technology specialists, we cannot call the shots for for starting, ending, whatever, But as a technology specialist, you should just consider these things happening and be prepared and ready within hours of notice to deploy your application somewhere else and be able to run your application somewhere else. Okay, so this is the thing I think I want to talk about. So yeah, but we should be thinking about these things. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening. See you in next one.